On this Saturday night, searching for survivors. The death toll mounts in Maui as crews comb through the wreckage where wildfires hit without warning.
It's like a war zone. It looks like the whole place just blew up.
Plus, Canadians caught in the chaos. Deadly journey. More migrants drown in Europe as the number of attempted crossings climbs. Artificial intelligence and tourism.
Been a tool that has come in handy for planning itineraries.
How AI is planning your next holiday.
Global National with Farah Nasser. Reporting tonight, Jeff Semple.
No, not like this. Not like this. Keep going. Not like this. No, God, the car.
A moment of sheer terror as this family that flees the fires that wiped out much of the historic Hawaiian town of Lahaina this week. They're now among the thousands in Maui left homeless after the deadliest natural disaster in Hawaii's history. Good evening and thank you for joining us. The death toll from that inferno now stands at 80 and around 1,000 people are still missing. The fire is now mostly contained and some survivors are returning to find their community in ruins. Our Neetu Garcha is in Maui and has been speaking with evacuees, including a Canadian school principal. So Neetu, what's the latest on the situation there?
Jeff, some people were allowed to return to Lahaina yesterday before the road was closed off to others who remain in the dark about whether their loved ones are alive. People across the island are anxious and banding together to support each other however they can.
We were just helping people that came to our school.
Canadian principal Ryan Kirkham, who's lived on Maui for years, says when the wildfires broke out Tuesday night, his school, known as Maui Prep, was spared, but quickly became an evacuation and distribution center.
On one of the first buses that came, I carried a little old 82-year-old woman off the bus. She was just black head to toe, but she had been in the ocean for 3 hours. And somebody picked her up, put her on a bus.
Kirkham drove through the devastated community of Lahaina for the first time on Friday since the inferno tore through the town.
It was heartbreaking. Just everything flattened down to the ground.
It's completely unrecognizable. There's nothing.
It is. We were driving. We were like, I have no idea where we are right now.
Kona Deneen also made it into the restricted area for the first time Friday.
So much destruction. It's insane over there. It's like a war zone. It looks like the whole place just blew up.
Deneen's home and family were spared. He spent his days picking up and dropping off donations where they're most needed. As a Hawaiian also mourning the loss of sacred lands, he's hoping the historic banyan tree with branches extending over 18 meters will survive.
It's really hard to fight this.
As people wait in long lines to get into Lahaina, through the uncertainty of what's next, Kirkham says many are defiant and determined to rise from the ashes.
West Maui and Lahaina just has a weird way of pulling together and just kind of shaking their fist at the circumstances and saying, you know what, you might knock us down, but we're just going to come back stronger.
The compassion here is on display wherever we go, but we have also heard some growing frustrations. Local police here have reported some of those who've been allowed back into Lahaina have been breaking the rules and going into restricted locations. There have also been many reports of looting. Jeff?
Neetu Garcha in Maui. Thanks, Neetu. Lahaina has a rich history. It was once Hawaii's capital and offered a wide array of cultural and historical sites, like the banyan tree that Neetu mentioned. And while it's still standing, many other sites were wiped out by the wildfires. They include the old Lahaina courthouse, which opened back in 1860 and housed a heritage museum. The 200-year-old Waiоla Church is now reduced to rubble. And the Baldwin House, built in 1834 and believed to be the oldest home on Maui, was also destroyed. Residents say that wildfire hit without warning, and some are now demanding to know why their large seaside community was caught off guard. As Reggie Cecchini explains, experts say this fire offers lessons for the future.
For so many, there are no words to describe the loss of this paradise.
It's the most heartbreaking thing I've ever been through.
But there are questions about why so many things went wrong.
Hawaii is extremely vulnerable to wildfire, and this has just been getting worse over the last few decades.
Local officials are believed to have underestimated the threat posed by fire, even as reports highlighted how unprepared the state was for a wildfire disaster that's only been exacerbated by a changing climate that includes severe drought.
After a big event like this, a devastating event like this, there's always a in-depth study and analysis of not only the fire behavior and the weather and the conditions that caused it, but what actions did emergency management take?
There was a red flag warning that weather could impact fire conditions, but emergency officials say warning sirens were not activated and cellular outages may have prevented emergency alerts from reaching everyone.
The fires came up so quickly and they spread so fast. I think this was an impossible situation.
It was a situation worsened by the fact Maui and most of Hawaii is covered by vast grasslands that can reach a meter high.
Our island archipelago has been invaded by fire-prone grasses from all over the world. So when our native forest burns, what comes back is more of these grasses.
There are calls to look forward by learning from mistakes of the past.
There needs to be a lot more long-term planning and more resources put towards fire prevention. A great tactic for that is using livestock to actually graze those grasses.
If we accept as a society that these events will happen again, how can we best protect ourselves and the things we care about from those events?
Experts say prevention and not blame should be a primary focus, and while recovery is only just beginning, the rebuild needs to be far more adaptive to a fast-changing environment. Reggie Cecchini, Global News, Washington.
Turning to the migrant crisis in Europe now. At least 6 asylum seekers have been killed after their boat sank in the English Channel. It's the latest in a string of similar tragedies. More than 1,000 migrants have tried to make the journey to the UK by boat in just the last 2 days. As Touria Izri reports, those who survived the journey face tough new immigration measures.
Anguish in the English Channel. A boat packed with migrants sank in one of the busiest and most dangerous shipping lanes in the world. Rescuers found them off the coast of France, stranded at sea and screaming for help. The boat was quite simply overloaded, says this man. They could no longer move. They saved around 50 people, but could not reach everyone. The migrants who died were from Afghanistan, a country that's been under Taliban control for almost 2 years.
What's driving people now is more political violence and increasing hunger.
A day earlier, a rescue ship found a stranded wooden boat near Malta. The number of migrants arriving on Europe's shores is increasing, and so are the casualties. This summer, at least 350 Pakistani nationals died in a disaster off the coast of Greece.
What we see in the Mediterranean Sea at the moment, we are counting almost 2,000 persons that have drowned already this year, which is the highest death toll since 2017.
European countries are cracking down. The British government temporarily housed asylum seekers on a barge. Despite warnings, it's a potential death trap. On Friday, they were moved after the bacteria that causes Legionnaire's disease was found in the water supply.
It's not solving any of the systemic issues or failings within our asylum system. What we're doing here is propping up performative cruelty.
More than 100,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel in small vessels since 2018. When they arrive, they often face a massive backlog and few options.
Basically, it comes down to there's no legal pathways, and you're very slow at processing, and people need to leave.
A desperate journey that doesn't end on the shore. Touria Izri, Global News, Ottawa.
Turning to Ukraine now, Russia says its air defenses shot down at least 3 Ukrainian missiles fired at a bridge connecting Russia to occupied Crimea. Video on social media shows plumes of white smoke over the Kerch Bridge. Russia's defense ministry claims that smoke was intentionally created to thwart further strikes. Russia annexed Crimea back in 2014. With no end in sight to the war in Ukraine, tensions are rising in neighboring Poland, particularly along its border with Belarus. The Polish government claims Belarusian military helicopters entered its airspace at the beginning of the month. In response, Poland's government ordered 10,000 troops to the border to bolster defenses. While on the other side, mercenaries from Russia's Wagner Group are reportedly training Belarusian forces. Those military maneuvers are making NATO nations nervous. Tonight, Crystal Gamansing looks at the work underway to keep Poland safe.
An important anniversary is approaching this Tuesday. Polish soldiers will be marching to commemorate their 1920 victory over the Soviets' Red Army. But with current-day hostilities, as many as 10,000 troops are being handed new orders. We have to be ready for any scenario, explained the Polish defense minister, saying this is why we decided to move the army closer to the border, to scare away the aggressor. Russia's battle-hardened Wagner Group has been training Belarusian soldiers, reportedly at the request of President Alexander Lukashenko. Troops have reportedly come within 5 kilometers of Polish territory since the training started last month. And on August 1st, Poland accused Belarus of illegally entering its airspace. Russia's defense minister says the militarization of Poland poses a risk to Russia. Several NATO countries along the defensive group's eastern flank stepped up border patrols and repositioned weapons following Russia's full invasion of Ukraine. The Polish prime minister says Russia and Belarus are sowing chaos and unrest with their veiled threats and recent actions, including cyber attacks not just against Poland, but Lithuania and Latvia.
We need to be prepared for all kinds of possible provocations also in the future.
For Poland, that means more manpower to physically guard the border in an effort to keep the peace, because an attack on a NATO nation would draw in all member countries, including Canada, into the conflict. Crystal Gamansing, Global News, London.
Upgrading your travel experience. Coming up, how artificial intelligence could help your next holiday. Welcome back. Artificial intelligence just might join you on your next vacation. Tourism Jasper in Alberta's Rocky Mountains is now using AI in hopes of making the destination more popular. And they're not alone. As Heather Yerkes-West explains, applications like ChatGPT and Oliver AI are taking the industry by storm.
Watch now as Oliver takes the input on traveling Italy as a vegan and produces an 800-word blog post in real time.
It's not quite an artificial travel agent, but it is an AI application real-life travel agent Tanis Dearland finds helpful.
It's been a tool that has come in handy for planning itineraries, for being able to answer questions rather quickly for clients and suppliers.
Dearland uses ChatGPT to support clients too. Just one of the ways this new technology is changing how people travel. With seemingly limitless possibilities, teams at tourism destinations are taking note.
Travel is very complicated. There are many different externalities to why and how people travel.
Jasper is one of the most beautiful getaway spots in Alberta. With demand high, it's why Tourism Jasper has teamed up with the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute to get artificial intelligence working for them.
It could be from optimizing travel for safety and efficiency. It could be how do we use AI to find even more experiences for people in the park? How can we optimize the opportunity for seasonal hiring and tour operator efficiency?
Unlike traditional database decision-making software, which looks at trends over time, AI focuses on the future, allowing companies to make plans based on what the technology says will happen next.
Hypothetically, we'll be able to provide insights on everything from dispersion as to how vehicles travel within the park, to human-wildlife conflict, to climate change and sustainability around glaciation and that type of thing.
When it comes to the tourism sector, AI appears to be here to stay. A recent American study found a third of U.S. travelers are now using ChatGPT to plan their trips, with travel companies like Expedia getting in on the action too, sending travelers off on new adventures on the wings of AI. Heather Yurex West, Global News, Calgary.
Still ahead, a new lease on life. How a Canadian company is driving forward with old electric car batteries. When a gas-powered vehicle gets old, it often ends up in a wrecking yard. But that outcome can be more complicated when the car is electric. Krista Hesse explains.
Welcome to the urban mine. There's no hole in the ground or tailings. These minerals are coming from a new source: electric car batteries.
That's very cool. Kind of looks like dirt, but...
Kind of looks like dirt. Guarantee you it's not dirt.
That dark, shiny material is called black mass. It's a concoction of minerals made from old or defective batteries that have been shredded and broken down. Black mass is the bread and butter of Li-Cycle, a Canadian battery recycler that wants to make sure the precious minerals in batteries don't go to waste.
So how many batteries get recycled at this facility?
It's 5,000 tons per year.
It's a lot of batteries.
It's a lot of batteries.
Daniel Demers is the plant manager here at Li-Cycle's facility in Kingston, Ontario. He gave us a close-up look at how the recycling process works.
This is a skid of modules. In an EV car, the entire bottom of the car would be full of these. We take off the bits and pieces that we don't want to shred, and then we lift it up onto the conveyor and send it on its merry way up into the shredder.
The lithium-ion battery recycling industry, which barely existed a few years ago, is now booming.
There really hasn't been a change of this scale since the last time we moved from the horse and buggy to the original combustion engine, which was a process that took over 100 years. We're trying to get there in just a couple decades.
Lithium, cobalt, nickel, graphite, and manganese are crucial for these new batteries. But you can't open a mine overnight.
Mines take a long time to build in most countries. So we've got this supply and demand crunch that's being forecast.
That's where recycling comes in. Starting in 2030, the first wave of electric vehicle batteries are expected to reach their end of life. Part of the solution to this supply problem lies in what happens to those EV batteries when they run out of juice.
Lithium is the most valuable component now of those batteries.
Before starting Li-Cycle, Ajay Kochar worked in battery manufacturing as an engineer. He watched as lithium-ion became the most popular battery chemistry, and then started looking into whether any recyclers were recovering lithium.
And to our dismay, we found that you actually can't recover lithium through these traditional approaches, which tend to burn off materials that they don't want. So that was really an aha moment for us.
Right now, Li-Cycle's black mass is sold to outside vendors. But later this year, they will open a new plant in upstate New York. It's there that they'll use a new chemical process to recover the various minerals from the black mass, including lithium.
Think of it as urban mining.
And how much are you able to reuse from those batteries that you're recycling?
So we're getting up to 95% recoverable material from those batteries.
With a new stream of battery-grade materials coming from recyclers, it could reduce the need for mining and all the impacts that come along with it.
This solves the problem, gets it out of the landfill, gets it back into industry, gets it back into your next device.
Krista Hesse, Global News.
Affectionately referred to as Joey Bats, the superstar slugger returned to the roster by signing a one-day contract on Friday, allowing him to officially retire as a Blue Jay. I spoke with Bautista about his most memorable moments, including that unforgettable bat flip.
To mark his induction into the Jays' level of excellence, Toronto unveiled this bat flip mural downtown. Fans at the game even received bat flip bobbleheads. What do you think about the way that moment 8 years later has become almost immortalized in Canadian sports?
I think it's awesome. There's a few moments up there for Canadians fans to remember. Obviously, Joe Carter's home run, Kawhi Leonard shot, and hopefully the bat flip. So I know it means a lot, but it means a lot to me as well. So just happy that I was able to create some great memories for the fans.
It helped. It was a pretty sweet flip at the time. I want to ask about your bat flip technique. I've even got an extra microphone in case you want to demonstrate. Is it all on the wrist, or how does it work?
There wasn't much technique, so I don't really remember how I did it or why, but I just kind of gave it like a little toss to the right, you know?
That's it. I mean, we got insurance on that, so you could give it a...
All right, I'll give it a flip.
There it is. Oh,
and a catch.
Atta boy, well done. And finally, I guess to be back in this city, I mean, obviously talked a lot about your memories with the team, but your memories in the country, in the city, what's it like to be back here?
It's great to be back. It feels like I've never left, so I'm glad to be back, and I'm sure I'll be back more often. It's just great coming back to Canada. It feels like such a welcoming place, such great diversity, and a lot of culture here, so I enjoy my time here all the time.
And that is Global National for this Saturday night. I'm Jeff Semple. From baseball stars to shooting stars, you might want to stay up late this evening to catch a glimpse of the Perseid meteor shower, which peaks tonight. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.